Guys, coming around for the Supergirl Season 1, Episode 18, World's Finest, and obviously I was pumped for this episode, and I think we all are. Ever since it was announced that there was going to be a Supergirl Flash crossover, it just sounded like it made sense, because the shows are very similar in terms of tone, in terms of the way they do things. They're very different as well, but they are probably the two shows that it would make sense for these two to cross over, especially with Supergirl hasn't had a crossover yet. It would make sense for them to cross over with the Flash, and it was really interesting how that was going to be. And then when I heard it was only going to be a Supergirl episode, I was, of course, a little bit disappointed because I kind of wanted to see what they would do if Supergirl ended up on The Flash. But then heard the story, it started to make sense, and I gotta say, this wasn't as much of a crossover as it was The Flash guest starring, but it still was a great episode. I love this episode. It was a lot of fun, very funny as well. Probably Supergirl's funniest episode yet, honestly. Definitely its funniest episode, but also a really good central storyline going on. But let's just get into it. Definitely, definitely, I really enjoyed the way, I definitely enjoyed this episode, but let's just get into it, because like I said, there is a lot to talk about, and especially the ending. I mean, I have no idea what to say about that, but let's just get into it. In the DO, a doctor runs a test on Siobhan, because as we know, Siobhan tried to, basically fell to her death, but wasn't killed for whatever reason. There were like these sound waves or whatever, and she doesn't really know what's going on with her, and I thought they handled this really well. It didn't just feel abrupt, like it feel like it made sense, and Winn and Supergirl look on. Winn's worried about Siobhan and who she might be, because obviously he knows there's something going on with her, he just doesn't know what it is, and Supergirl's frustrated that the public still does not trust her after the red kryptonite incident, and she's done everything. She said that she tried to save a family and do all these nice things and things like that, and still no one's really having faith in her. And I like that Winn saying that she can't blame herself for this. This is not her fault. This was when she was poisoned and she couldn't really do anything about it. So because of that, she can't blame herself. But I understand obviously why she blames herself. She wants to turn things around, and nothing really seems to be working at this point. So I really did feel bad for Kara in that situation. The doctor explains to Winn and Kara that Siobhan let out a sound wave so powerful that it cushioned her fall off the building, which was interesting, but she's definitely human, and she's not an alien. So that's very interesting the way this was done. And Kara knows for a fact she's definitely not a Fort Ross prisoner, so they don't really know what's going on here, because all the villains they've dealt with, all the villains that have powers, they've been Fort Ross prisoners. And obviously, Siobhan's not, and basically, we don't know what's going on. Siobhan wants answers, storms off angrily when the doctor can't provide her any, and I like that Siobhan didn't know either. It was good. It was a good setup for her character. Winn then catches up on Siobhan, who's furious that he never told her about knowing Supergirl or the DO. He tries to offer comfort, claiming that he will not abandon her, and suddenly Siobhan sees images of a Banshee, and she walks away with Winn. We don't know how she's seeing these, but for whatever reason, she's seeing these, and on her way out, she finds Lucy interrogating the imprisoned Livewire, and here's Livewire mentioning Supergirl and Cat, and this definitely makes her interested. Not so much Supergirl, but definitely Cat. She wants to go after Cat, obviously, because of what happened, and basically, Cat is the main target in this episode, which I thought was very interesting. So in Cat's office, Cat and Kara admire some very fancy cupcakes. Cat teases Kara about wanting one of the cupcakes and being afraid to ask for one, and compares it to Kara's lack of action for winning over James, because this episode definitely shows that Kara does in fact have feelings for James, and we know that James does as well, but we also know that Lucy, broke up with James because she thinks that he's in love with Kara, and things are very awkward between these two right now, and I didn't really know what was going to happen, if they were going to be able to have that conversation, if, James was going to just tell her what was going on, but basically, she talks about Kara's lack of affection, and Kat advises Kara to make James jealous, and in typical Kat form, refuses to share her cupcakes. Obviously, that's what she does, and I thought that was quite funny how she just wants her to make James jealous, but I was thinking, how can she really do that? Who can she make James jealous with? Oh, the Flash is gonna come in handy here, because I thought she was gonna use the Flash, like go on a date with the Flash, but we'll get into that. Siobhan walks down a busy sidewalk when she gets another vision of the Banshee in her head. She suddenly changes directions, and at Catco, Siobhan emerges from the elevator. Winn tries to stop her before Cat sees her in the building, but Siobhan shoves him aside and continues into the office, and Even though he's trying to stop her, she doesn't care. Kat orders Kara to call the authorities because remember, Kat said, "Get the hell out of my office, I never want to see you again." And obviously, Siobhan's going against that. And basically, Kara tries to reason with Siobhan instead. And I thought that was very interesting as she says, "I don't want to hurt you. I just, you need to get out of here. You need whatever's going on, just leave and try to deal with it." But Siobhan screams at Kara, her sound wave knocking Kara unconscious, sending her flying out the window, which was crazy, basically to her death. But luckily, the Flash speeds up the side of the building, catches Kara, makes all the way to an open field before stopping. And I like that this was just completely just out of nowhere. Like, this was completely random, and it's also a situation that we've never dealt with before, and I like the way this was handled. We see once they stop, Kara wakes up, she takes flight back to the city, but lands again when she sees the Flash running under her. They question each other and realize that neither of them have heard the other, which is very interesting. We found this out, and I like the beginning when she's on fire and he sees it's not really affecting her. I thought that was pretty funny, but right away he can tell that she doesn't know who he is, and, he asked, "Do you know Arrow? Do you know Black Canary? Do you know Firestorm? Do you know any of them?" And none of these names are ringing a bell, and he doesn't even know who Supergirl is, and they very quickly realize that Barry is in the wrong universe. He is in a different universe. He clearly is not supposed to be there, and some people are saying, well, where's the connection next week in The Flash? Tomorrow night's episode is about Barry having to go back to Earth 2 because of changes he made there. I'm thinking that's what's going to happen, that he meant to go back to Earth 2, but he went to Supergirl's universe instead, which I'm interested in seeing how that's going to connect, if they are going to reference that on The Flash or not. But I thought this was a good way to get Barry on Supergirl. It didn't feel weird. It didn't feel like, oh, we just need him on there. It made sense. Like, he just ended up in National City. He went to the wrong universe, and I like that they're in different universes because it makes sense why we haven't had a crossover yet. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. And it also changed a lot for Kara. I mean, she didn't know that there were multiverses, and now she does. So in Catco, Winn and James walk in on Kara and Barry getting to know each other, and Winn immediately understands Barry's explanation of the multiverse, and Winn and Barry are very similar. You really do see that here. I've always thought they were very similar, but they're both kind of science geeks and things like that, and he even helps describe it to a confused and sullen James. James has no idea what's going on, which I thought was very funny. Barry also demonstrates his power by getting everyone ice cream, and he also explains, the way the multiverse works and everything. And when Kara and Barry head out for donuts, Winn calls James out for being jealous. And basically, what Kat's saying was happening is coming true. That James is kind of getting a little jealous of Kara and Barry. But it's not so much a romantic thing. You can tell that these two are simply just friends and that they want to help each other. And I like seeing that. So really good stuff. And I gotta say, they put Barry to good use here. Like, it wasn't just the Supergirl starring, guest starring the Flash. This definitely wasn't a crossover, but it definitely felt like they put Barry to good use. I thought they did good stuff with him, and it didn't just feel, like I said, totally random. It made sense in terms of context, and I like the way they did it here, definitely. So Kat calls Kara into her office before she can leave. Barry, Winn, James quickly follow, and Kat gets the best line out of anyone in this episode. I mean, there were good lines in this episode, definitely. There were some really funny parts, but out of everything, Kat's line here had me dying. They're all just looking around. Kat has a picture of the Flash saving Kara, and she insists that this new hero is competition for Supergirl. But then Barry saying that he doesn't have to be competition, that he can be her equal or something like that. And Kat's line saying, "You all are staring around, look like a cast on a CW show." I just lost it because, of course, the Flash is from the CW. Supergirl was supposed to be on the CW. That line just killed me. It's totally something that Kat would say. And the most interesting part about it is that she doesn't want to call the Flash. She wants to call him the Blur because she feels that's a name that's going to attract more people, which I think is pretty funny. And Barry even says, "Why not call him the Flash?" And Kat shuts it down immediately. And Kat sends all the men from her office, tells Kara that James is clearly jealous of Barry and she should keep it up, and that, she's doing the right thing by using Barry against James, which is not exactly what Kara is doing. We know that's not why Barry's really there, but it definitely is making James a little bit jealous, you definitely see. So Siobhan goes to a magic crystal shop owned by her aunt Sinead, and she tells Sinead about the images of the Banshee, and Sinead explains that the women of their family were cursed by a Banshee long ago, and it makes them all unpleasant people. She gives them the powerful scream once they are wrong. The catch is that they have to kill the person who wronged them, or else the power will take their souls, and Siobhan doesn't know how she can kill Kara with both Kat and Supergirl protecting her. Then she remembers Livewire, because Livewire, obviously, she she went after Cat. That was her main target. It's not Supergirl. And that, Livewire was able to go after Cat, and she figures, okay, if Livewire can do it, so can I. And again, they did a good job of showing how these two are going to meet up. It didn't just feel random. Like, when I heard Livewire, I'm like, why is Livewire randomly back? Because her and Siobhan are going through the same situation. They both were wronged by Cat in many different ways, Cat humiliating Livewire on, TV, saying how much she doesn't like her and things like that, and how she doesn't like what she's doing, and, that whole thing that happened. Livewire also worked for Cat, and Cat fired her, so she also fired Siobhan. That's really how they're very similar, and I like the way they did that. Really good stuff, and Livewire was a good villain. I'm glad they brought her back here, and at the DEO, the sound of an enormous scream erupts, shattering the glass of Livewire's cell. She electrocutes her guards, and it's this crazy scene. I mean, we see her in this action scene, everything, which it just is a good reintroduction to Livewire, which I really enjoyed. Kara goes into Cat's office to tell her that Livewire's escaped. Kara wants Cat and Carter to go into hiding because she's figuring that Livewire is going to go after Carter as well, but Cat refuses to run. She still trusts Supergirl to protect her, and basically so Kara goes back to the vacant office to ask Barry for help, and the Flash speeds through the DEO while Supergirl and Winn watch Lucy and several soldiers with guns shown, and I like the scene where they agree to be partners. I like the way that was done. Very reminiscent of the first crossover with Arrow and Flash. Thought that was really good the way they did that. And it also makes me wonder if they're going to eventually have a Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow crossover. I heard they want to do that at some point, so I'm hoping that does happen soon, because that'd be awesome if it was. I mean, obviously, it would be incredible, kind of impossible, but it also might not be, because the way they could do it. And I'll talk about how they might be able to do that at the end of this review. So the Flash speeds through the DEO while Supergirl and Winn watch Lucy and several soldiers with guns shown, but Supergirl vouches for the Flash, and Barry pulls off his mask, explains he is a CSI, so Supergirl sets him up in Alex's lab, and Barry's reaction to learning that Kara had a sister, I thought was really funny. Him saying, oh, you have a sister? Like, you want to take a romantic interest in her, but she says she's not really around. And we don't see Alex and John in this episode, which was interesting because John and Alex are on the poster for this episode, but they weren't in the episode, which I don't know if they were supposed to be or they were cut out, but I just found that kind of interesting. Not a huge deal, just something that I found interesting, something that kind of annoyed me. Livewire then finds her favorite beer in a cooler in an abandoned warehouse. Siobhan is there and suggests they team up to get Supergirl, Cat, and Kara. And after seeing a demonstration of Siobhan's powers, Livewire agrees, and provided Siobhan has to have a makeover. She's no longer, it's not going to work with her just being human. She needs to have a makeover, and that's what's going to happen here. And I heard a lot of people complain about her makeup because that didn't look the comics or whatever. But you guys have to remember, Livewire is the one that did her makeup. This wasn't just a random thing. This was Livewire that did her makeup. It wasn't going to look perfect, and it looked that way. So James shows up at the DEO, but starts to leave when he sees Supergirl win in the Flash, and obviously, he knows what's going on there. He's kind of getting jealous, and Lucy catches him, encourages James to go for it with Kara, and I like this scene. It shows that Lucy's okay with James liking Kara. She knows that he has feelings for her, she knows that he has feelings for her. She knows that that's why they had to break up, and she's not upset about it. She knows that he likes her. He's not admitting it, but now that they're broken up, now he can admit how he truly feels to her, and of course, that's what Kara wants. She wants him to admit that, and that's why she's trying to make him jealous, as we know. So Barry figures out a way to track Livewire and has found the warehouse, and Barry and Winn want to build a trap, but Supergirl insists that they can't wait, so she and the Flash head out, and Supergirl and the Flash arrive at the warehouse where they're confronted by Livewire. The Flash tries to hit her with lightning, but she simply absorbs it, which was crazy, and she zaps him, and we've never really seen, we've seen people have power over Barry, but this was just a whole other level. Supergirl starts to join the fight, but a massive scream causes her eardrums to bleed. She recognizes Siobhan, who is sporting a very different look, including painting her face silver and to resemble the Banshee from her visions, and I was perfectly fine with that. I know some people were complaining about her look. I didn't really have a problem with it. I thought her look was just fine. I don't really have anything wrong with that. But going by the name Silver Banshee, who is a character from the comics, and I like that we now know who she's going to be. She's now Silver Banshee. She joins Livewire. Supergirl and the Flash hold them off, but the Flash realizes that they won't win this time, and they leave. He realizes that this just is not going to work for them. They're just simply too powerful, and they can't take them down at this point, which is interesting. So on the balcony at Catco, Kara apologizes to Barry for rushing him. She explains how she lost the city's trust and is now rushing, and he can tell that there's something up, because she's not just upset because they didn't win that fight. He knows there's something more going on, and I like that she told him about how she knows she lost the city's trust and is now rushing and making mistakes trying to earn it back, and Barry suggests that she slow down and stop trying, and that's not the thing to do, when we stop trying, that's really when things start to work. And he went through something similar, and the only thing that made it better was time. And yeah, if you remember when he went through Earth 2, there was a lot that he had to deal with, and now he's dealt with it. He, waited, he waited out, and now everything's okay. And Kara can't fix this problem, but it will fix itself in his own, and she just needs to stop worrying about it, stop dwelling on it, stop thinking about it, just wait for it to just let the problem fix itself, and that's exactly what she needs to do, which I thought was very well done. I really like that scene, and some really good stuff with Kara and Barry. My only complaint with Barry, if I had to have one, is that there's really no reference of Zoom or anything going on with this storyline, and I'm guessing they did that for people that don't watch The Flash, because Supergirl's on a different network, which I'm sure a lot of people do, but my parents watch Supergirl and nothing else. They don't watch The Flash, they don't watch Arrow, they don't watch Legends Tomorrow. So I'm guessing they didn't reference Zoom or anything, because it's on a different network and because not everyone might not watch The Flash that watches Supergirl. But the other thing is they did reference the multiverse, so I don't really know why they didn't reference Zoom. It just felt a bit odd, knowing that that's Barry's main goal is to find Zoom, and he didn't reference it in this episode. Maybe it's just not on his mind, I don't really know. But James looks for Kara, but Winn explains that she went to the DEO with Barry, and Kat's also looking for Kat when Livewire appears, zaps James before he can use his watch to call Supergirl. Silver Banshee joins her, and Winn steps in front of her, but begging Siobhan to be the better person than this, and it's a good scene. I mean, you really saw Winn, having some sort of power over her, but she won't look at him first, but after letting him beg and plead a while, she throws him back with a scream, and I like seeing Winn not pining for Kara anymore. Ever since he's not pining for Kara, they've made him a better character. He's been a lot more entertaining, and especially this episode, he was very funny, but also you can tell really does care about Siobhan. He really doesn't want her to do this, and I like seeing that. Barry shows Kara some earplugs he made them to protect their ears from Silver Banshee, because obviously her scream, it's kind of like Lydia on Teen Wolf. It's so loud, it'll kill someone. And when they get a call from James, Livewire, and Silver Banshee kidnap Kat, we find out, and Livewire suddenly appears on all the screens at the DEO, telling Supergirl and the Flash to come to the park if they want to save Kat, and a really crazy scene the way this was done, but really awesome by the girl that played Livewire. Like I said, she's a very good actress. Livewire then shoots her electricity in the park, clearing the crowds away from where she and Silver Banshee have Kat handcuffed to the bench, and Livewire threatens Kat, who begs for her life, and Livewire can't believe the Kat would beg, but Kat is sincere, not wanting her sons to be left without her, and that's what I love about Kat as a character, is that a lot of times she is this, kind of conniving, kind of just, abrasive presence, but she does really care about certain people, especially her sons. That is the thing that's most important to her, and she will do anything she can to make sure that Adam and Carter are protected. That's why she had to get rid of Adam, because he just wasn't safe, and also because of everything that happened with him and Kara. It was just awkward, but also, she had to get rid of him because it wasn't safe. And then Carter, as we know, that's the one she's most concerned about, that Carter's going to be in danger and some bad's going to happen to him. And it's just a really effective scene. I like the way that was done. Again, Calista Flockhart just acts the hell out of the show every week, and this was no different. She was amazing here. Supergirl and the Flash show up. Silver Banshee screams them, but the earplugs work, and Livewire climbs over the electric waves of the building to the roof. The Flash follows quickly. They fight with her, eventually knocking him out. And meanwhile, Supergirl frees Kat before fighting Silver Banshee. The crowd continues to watch the fight, which Livewire quickly rejoins, and they see a helicopter overhead. Livewire aims at it. Supergirl flies in front of the copter, takes the blow, and she falls to the ground, weakened, and basically several members of the crowd step in front of Supergirl, protecting her, and it's a really good scene, because like Barry said, when you don't try, things just work out, and you can see the crowd is slowly getting back on Supergirl's side, and I like the way this scene was done. So basically, Livewire points out they hated her yesterday, but they were motivated by her efforts to protect them all and refused to move, and now they're back on her side. Supergirl now has fair fans back. It seems like she has a fan base, and I really like that. And basically, Livewire doesn't care. She plans to hit them all when she's suddenly doused by a huge stream of water. She loses control of her electricity, because obviously water and electricity don't mix, and accidentally zaps Silver Banshee. Both villains go down, and it's revealed that the water came from a fire hose operated by the same fireman who Supergirl helped a few weeks back when she was exposed to red kryptonite, which I thought was very well handled. Because you remember, that's how this all started, was her helping out those firemen. You know, she really just did a good thing, and then she was exposed to red kryptonite, and I think the city has now realized that, yeah, Supergirl is not perfect. She's gonna do some things here and there that obviously aren't safe, but she is the hero. She's gonna protect them. She's gonna have their back, and that's what they love about her, and that's what the crowd loves. And one of them goes up to her, explains that it was her turn to help her, and the Flash joins them, only to realize that the fight's over. There's no more fighting to be done, basically. And once more, the news loves Supergirl, as seen on the screens at Catco. Winn, James, and Kara discuss how Barry shooed the police how to incarcerate metahumans like Livewire and Silver Banshee, and Kara credits James for teaching her that even bad guys deserve justice. Even though they've done something wrong, you know, they might have deserved justice. And Kara walks up to them and reveals that she knew all along that Barry was the Flash. She strongly intimates that there's no hiding who you are from her by pretending to be normal, which, you know, I don't really know if Kat knew that, but I thought that was a pretty funny scene. And remember, she figured out that, you know, she thought that Kara was Supergirl. So she's a smart woman. She's not dumb or anything. We know that she almost thought Kara was Supergirl in that terrible episode that you guys know I really disliked. I still don't know why Kara just didn't tell Kat. Yes, I know Kat wouldn't be able to keep her secret, but now with all these people loving Supergirl, I really don't think it'd do much to her, honestly. I think Kara should just tell Kat at this point. It would make sense. Pretty much everyone knows except for Kat, and it's kind of pissing me off a bit. Kat's still a great character, not upset with the show or anything. It's just something I wish the show would do. I don't really understand why we had to have that happen, but obviously, Barry needs to leave. Barry explains that if he and Kara both run as fast as they can, she then throws him. It should make enough speed to create a breach for him to go back home, and I like that he actually challenged her to a fight. I thought that was pretty funny. I definitely really enjoyed that. I also loved the little banter between these two throughout the episode. There are several moments like Barry's trying to act cool, or Kara's just thinking she has more power over him, or Barry thinking he's stronger than her. It's really fun stuff like that. I really enjoyed, and I believe Grant Gustin and Melissa Benoist are friends in real life, so you can definitely tell they had a lot of fun making this episode. He also advises her to go for it with James. That definitely James, someone she should be with. They hug, and they're then race, ending with her flinging him through a breach, not knowing if he's getting home, but hoping that he gets home, and I like the way that was done. Obviously, Barry needs to leave, and like I said, this didn't feel as much of a crossover as it just did a Supergirl episode with Barry Allen on it, which I thought was fine. I didn't have a problem with that. You don't need every crossover to be huge. You know, not everything needs to be like it was on the Arrow Flash crossover. The reason that was the way it was is because it was so you know, they expanded upon it. They made more of a story, and I think they're gonna do that with Supergirl and Flash. I think this show that these two really do work well together, and like I said, I really do think this is open to more possibilities, that they could bring Arrow in, they could bring the crew from Legends of Tomorrow in, they could really bring anyone in this point. If they can bring Barry in, they could definitely get Arrow in, because Barry can find a way to get Oliver, you know, through the portal and through the breach and everything. Definitely he could find a way to do that, and I definitely think this is a way to bring all those characters in. We'll have to see what that happens, though. And at Non-Time, it's reported that Myriad is now in effect. Non is pleased that Astra's plan is happening. Oh, I forgot this, but basically, James comes to Kara's apartment. Now, this is a very interesting scene, the way this was done. One, it's foreshadowing a ton of stuff, but two, the way this episode ends is really interesting. We'll definitely get into that. She talks about the multiverse, how the worlds are separate because they vibrate at different frequencies, but if they vibrate the same, they could be together, and that their worlds could be one. And James has no idea what she's talking about at first, but it's a really good scene. I definitely really like that. And you can definitely tell, I think, the car is starting to think about the multiverse a little bit, that maybe she could do it, maybe she could travel there. And Kara then just kisses him out of nowhere, which I knew that was going to happen. They were literally inches away from each other. I'm like, they're going to kiss, they're going to kiss. She kisses him, but James has no reaction, literally no reaction. And she's thinking, oh, maybe the kiss didn't go right, or maybe it just was too good, or maybe he's just in shock. But he just stares at her with this blank face, and she's freaking out. He walks in the apartment, still not speaking, kind of like soldier-like, which is very weird. And At Non's hideout, we hear it's reported that Myriad is now in effect. We've heard of Myriad before, if you remember in that one episode when John told her to not ask what Myriad is. Basically, now we know what Myriad is, and Non is pleased that Asher's plan is happening. This was Asher's plan all along. And back at Kara's apartment, she looks out onto the city. Hundreds and hundreds of blank-faced people walk in unison like an army, clearly against Supergirl. It's Non's plan. It's working very well, and that's how the episode ends. And what the hell? I mean, I have no idea what's going on here, but now we know what Myriad is. It's clear that this has an effect on everyone. It turns them into kind of like The Walking Dead almost, where they're kind of like this army that is basically told what to do, which I think is very interesting, and I can't wait to see where this goes. But what an episode, guys. Like I said, I definitely really enjoyed this, and I'm fine that this was a low-key crossover. I don't really have a problem with that because of the fact that we didn't need a huge thing for Supergirl and Flash. We just need some interaction, we need some banter, and that's exactly what we got. I didn't think this was going to be something huge. I didn't think it was going to be something monumental like the Arrow and Flash one. I thought this was going to be a fun episode, and it really was. It was a fun episode. We had some really fun interaction between them. But like I said, I do think it opens the door for more possibilities. In fact, they've said they want to do a four-way crossover with all four shows, and I could definitely see them doing that. I mean, Legends of Tomorrow especially, there's easily a way for them to just get in there, because they can go to any time period whatsoever. We know they've gone to the future, so they could very well get into National City if they want to do that. Definitely, I think that's something to think about for season 2. Obviously, they've already, done all the season 1, because season 1's ending in May, but definitely, I think that's something to think about for season 2, and I do think it opens the door for maybe Arrow to do that. There's a way to do that. Obviously, his connections to Barry, there has to be a way for him to do that, but also, how's this going to connect to the Flash? That's kind of what I'm wondering. Is there a way for this to connect to the Flash? Does Barry get home? Was he trying to get to Earth 2? We don't really know what's going on there. That very much interests me. I can't wait to see what happens with that, but I also think Kara's kind of thinking about the multiverse. Like, can she get there possibly by flying? I mean, she can fly, and the Flash can't do that, obviously. So is there a way for Kara to get to the multiverse in a way that Barry can't? That's something I'm also very interested in. Is there a way for her to do that? Because I think that's very interesting as well. But I also love the way this episode was done, because now we know that James and Kara kiss. He had absolutely no reaction whatsoever. How does he feel about this kiss? Obviously, right now he's under Myriad, which we know what it is, and now we also know why John told Kara never to speak of it, because obviously it's very dangerous. It's highly dangerous. It's not very dangerous. It's highly dangerous, and definitely because of the fact that it's dangerous, it's turning this whole, basically the whole town into this huge army, and we don't really know what's going to happen there. We have, I believe, 2 episodes left this season, because I think there's only 20 episodes, and if that's true, the show, unfortunately, is not coming back till, let me check the date, because we're taking a long break, definitely, guys. The show's not coming back till April 11th, unfortunately, which sucks. I mean, definitely, I'd love to see an episode next week, but there's not going to be one, so that kind of sucks. But that's why there wasn't a promo for this week, if you guys were wondering. But let's talk about Cat, because Cat figured out very well that Barry's the Flash, and if she can figure that out very well, it's only going to be a matter of time before, once again, she's going to accuse Kara. I mean, obviously, Kara's kind of shut down the theory, but I feel like Cat still thinks that maybe Kara could be Supergirl. Definitely, I think that's going to come up at some point, and before you end the season, Cat's finding it out. I'm guaranteeing it that Cat is definitely going to find out by the end of the season. If she doesn't, I'll be very surprised if she doesn't find out. I mean, there's really nothing more to tell her. She knows who Cat is. She knows who Kara is. She knows who, she knows who Barry is. She knows, what Kara's like. She knows what Supergirl's like. They have very similar voices. It's only a matter of time, I think, before she's going to think, maybe they're the same person. Definitely, I think that's very interesting. I like the way they handled Silver Banshee here, because clearly she's now been affected by Livewire, but is there a way for Winn to maybe get inside her head, maybe turn things around for her? This is not the last we've seen of Silver Banshee. Definitely, we're going to see more of Siobhan, and I can't wait to see the way that was done, because we know that Winn probably is going to try to get through to her, and Winn genuinely cares about her. It seems like he actually wants to be with her, like he wants to be in this relationship, and I like the way that was done. Definitely really good for Winn and Siobhan. I like the way they handled a lot of that. Definitely really good stuff there. And Livewire as well. I can't wait to see what happens with that. And they both have the same reasons for, being evil. They both want to go after Cat, and you can tell the Cat's kind of made their life hell. She's made them unemployed, and at this point, Silver Banshee thinks she's unhireable. Like, she doesn't think she's going to be able to get another job, and now that's kind of why she's living as this, evil, metahuman now, because now she's Silver Banshee, and I like that Supergirl also knows what metahumans are, because obviously the Flash deals with them all the time, and now she knows what they are. Not all of them are Fort Ross prisoners, they're now metahumans, and I like that we introduced that in the show. Even though this is a multiverse, and it's a completely different universe than the Flash, I thought that was very well handled, and it also makes sense where there's a different universe than the Flash, because it just feels like, it feels different. It feels like the rules are different here. Things work differently than they do in the Flash, and for people that have complained, I think that's also why they did this. They did this to address some complaints. They did this so people who said, oh, that doesn't make sense, or that really doesn't work here, that's not how it works on the Flash, that's not how it works on Arrow. This is a different universe, so it works differently here, and I think they showed that really well, that the stakes are different, and especially Myriad, I don't think there's something like that on the Flash, definitely. That really makes me interested. And also makes me wonder if, what's Earth 2 like? There's obviously an Earth 2 for Supergirl. She clearly wants to go there, and I don't know if she's going to go there at some point, but it makes me think that definitely there has to be a way for her to get to, Central City somehow. If Barry can get there, I think she can get there as well. I think she's going to try to figure out how she can get there, and I think this has definitely affected her. Like, it's made her a lot more aware of things, and I definitely like seeing that. But overall, guys, like I said, very worthwhile crossover. A low-key episode overall. Like, it was definitely fun, but it was awesome because the Flash was on there, and it was awesome to see Grant Gustin step by. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. I still think episode 16 is the strongest. Falling is still the strongest episode of the show, but this was a really fun episode, and I definitely really did enjoy it. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Love to hear your thoughts on it, and we'll see you guys in my next show, which will be for tonight's episode of Bates Motel, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.